Good evening, everyone. You know, when I was younger, I used to be terrified of not fitting in. I was this awkward teenager with wild dreams, a strange accent, and more ambition than people thought was appropriate for a girl. I tried everything to blend in, to be normal, to be like everybody else, and you know what I realized? Trying to be like others is exhausting. It's like wearing someone else's skin and expecting it to feel like home. It never will. The world has more than 8 billion people. Do you really think we were all made to follow the same script? Same career path, same beauty standards, same social timeline? No, that's boring. That's predictable, and most of all, that's not you. Listen, I didn't win Miss World by being like everyone else. I didn't walk onto American television with a thick Indian accent and think, oh, I need to sound like them. I thought, no, I'm going to sound like me. I'm going to act like me. I'm going to show up as me, and if that's not enough, it's not my room to be in. And let me tell you, owning your uniqueness is powerful. It's scary, yes, but it's the most liberating thing you'll ever do. Your quirks, your background, your voice, your weird little passions, they're not flaws, they're your superpowers. So, if you're ever tempted to dim your light just to make others comfortable, remember this: you weren't born to blend in. You were born to stand out. Being unique doesn't mean being perfect, it means being real. It means showing up every single day unapologetically as yourself. And guess what? That's more than enough. That's how change, makers, dreamers, and legends are made. So stop chasing someone else's version of success. Stop trying to be someone else's idea of beautiful. Be you authentically, fiercely, and unapologetically, because nobody can play your part better than you trying to fit in, is something many of us are taught from a young age. We're encouraged to blend in with the crowd, follow the rules, and not rock the boat. But the truth is, fitting in is vastly overrated, especially when it comes at the cost of losing who you truly are. When you spend your energy trying to be like others, you begin to dull your own light. You start imitating voices that aren't yours, copying styles, opinions, and even dreams that don't belong to you. It might bring short-term comfort, but in the long run, it leaves you disconnected from your passions, your purpose, and your own identity. Authenticity, on the other hand, is where true power lies. When you show up as yourself, flaws, quirks, and all, you bring something to the table that nobody else can. You become irreplaceable, because let's be honest, the world doesn't need another copy. It needs original voices, fresh perspectives, and people brave enough to be real. There's strength in vulnerability. There's beauty in imperfection. When you stop chasing validation and start embracing who you are, you begin to live fully, not in someone else's shadow, but in your own light. People often believe that success means becoming what others expect you to be. But some of the most successful people in the world in entertainment, business, science, or activism didn't get there by copying others. They broke the mold, they were different, and they didn't apologize for it. They used their uniqueness as their advantage. That's what makes them unforgettable. It's not just about being better. It's about being real. Being someone who knows their value and refuses to shrink just to fit into someone else's version of normal. There's also a sense of freedom that comes with authenticity. You stop performing, you stop pretending, and you start living with clarity and confidence. You begin to attract the right opportunities, the right people, and the right kind of energy because you're showing up as your true self, not a version filtered through others' expectations. That kind of alignment creates success that actually feels meaningful. Of course, it takes courage. It's not always easy to stand out, especially when the pressure to conform is loud. But the moment you choose authenticity over acceptance, you reclaim your voice. You take ownership of your journey, and you inspire others to do the same. That ripple effect can change the world, one bold, honest, unapologetic soul at a time. So, while fitting in may seem safe, it's a trap that limits your growth and hides your brilliance. Authenticity isn't just about self-expression, it's about self-respect. And once you learn to honor your own identity, you'll realize you were never meant to fit in. You were born to shine. Every individual is born with something that makes them inherently different, a unique combination of experiences, perspectives, passions, and quirks. These differences aren't flaws or weaknesses. They are the very things that make a person valuable and powerful. Yet, so often, People are taught to suppress what sets them apart, to smooth out the edges, and to conform to an idea of what is acceptable or successful. In doing so, they risk losing the most powerful part of themselves, their uniqueness. Think about it, no one else in the world has lived your exact life. No one has your precise thoughts, your voice, your humor, your way of solving problems, or your particular blend of culture and character. That means what you bring to the world is truly one of a kind. In a world saturated with imitation and repetition, originality stands out like a beam of light in the dark, and that light is your superpower. The very things you might have once been teased for being too loud, too quiet, too emotional, too opinionated, too different are often the things that later become your greatest strengths when you learn how to own them. What once made you feel out of place can eventually become your brand, your voice, your identity, your power. The sooner you realize that, the sooner you stop apologizing for who you are and start recognizing your worth. Uniqueness isn't about being better than others. It's about being true to yourself in a world that constantly tries to mold you into something else. It's about trusting your instincts, your voice, and your vision even when it doesn't look like anyone else's. It's choosing to believe that your path has value even if it's not traditional or popular. This isn't always easy. In fact, it can be challenging to stand tall in your truth when everyone around you is following the same script. But the strength you gain from standing in that truth is unmatched. What's more powerful is that when you embrace your uniqueness, you give permission for others to do the same. Your courage becomes a quiet revolution. You become a mirror showing others that it's not only okay to be different, it's necessary. The world doesn't need more people trying to fit into boxes. It needs people breaking them, building new ones, or better yet, realizing they never needed a box in the first place. Your uniqueness is not a limitation. It's not something to be hidden, adjusted, or toned down. It's your leverage, your voice, your brand, your gift to the world. When you own it fully, you no longer have to chase opportunity. Opportunity starts finding you. People recognize authenticity. They are drawn to it. Because in a world full of noise, someone who is truly themselves unapologetically and proudly becomes unforgettable. So instead of wishing to be like someone else, start celebrating who you are. Because your uniqueness is not a flaw, it's your superpower. There's an invisible pressure many people feel to tone themselves down, to shrink a little, to fit into rooms that weren't built for them. It's the pressure to make others comfortable, to avoid standing out too much, speaking too boldly, or dreaming too loudly. This pressure is subtle, but powerful. It tells you to be less of yourself so you don't intimidate, upset, or challenge the expectations of others. But here's the truth, playing small does not serve the world. Shrinking yourself doesn't make others shine brighter, it just dims your own light. Often, people who are naturally expressive, ambitious, opinionated, or passionate are told to calm down, wait their turn, or stay in their lane. These messages can come from family, society, culture, or even peers who feel threatened by difference. But compromising your voice just to be accepted is a quiet form of self-abandonment. Every time you choose to stay silent when you have something to say, every time you downplay your strengths so others don't feel insecure, you are putting limits on your own potential. Standing in your full truth takes courage. It means you may not always be liked by everyone. It means you might challenge outdated ideas or make people uncomfortable simply by being yourself, and that's okay. You were not put on this earth to make everyone else comfortable. You were not meant to blend in like wallpaper. You are meant to challenge, to grow, to inspire, and none of that happens by hiding. What many people don't realize is that by choosing not to shrink, you give others permission to rise too. When you walk into a room and own your space, speak your truth, and express your full self without apology, you set an example. You show others that it's possible to be strong *and kind, confident *and compassionate, ambitious *and authentic. You become a mirror reflecting back to others what is possible when we stop apologizing for our presence. There will always be people who misunderstand you, who feel threatened by your light, or who would prefer you stay in the background. But their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself to honor your identity, your gifts, and your place in this world. Because every time you decide to play small to make someone else comfortable, you deny the world the fullest version of you. The world needs people who are willing to take up space, not in a loud, arrogant way, but in a way that says, I deserve to be here, my voice matters, my story counts. You don't need to ask for permission to be yourself. You simply need to give yourself the freedom to show up fully. When you do that, you stop living in fear of judgment and start living in alignment with your truth. And that, more than anything, is what changes lives, including your own. Many people are taught to view success as a formula, something that can be achieved by following a set path, replicating what others have done, and blending into existing standards. It's tempting to believe that if you imitate someone who is already successful, you will eventually reach the same result. But real success doesn't work that way. True success isn't about copying others. It's about carving your own path and embracing the things that make you different. It's about authenticity, vision, and the courage to walk in your own direction even when no one else sees it yet. When you try to mirror someone else's journey, you lose connection with your own instincts. You start living based on comparison, constantly measuring your progress against someone else's timeline or achievements. That comparison becomes a trap. It blinds you to your own strengths, your own story, and your own potential. It keeps you busy trying to catch up to someone else's dream instead of pursuing what truly matters to you. And the truth is, even if you succeed at being a perfect imitation, the world will always choose the original over the copy. Because what people really connect with is not perfection, but uniqueness. Some of the most influential and successful people didn't follow the crowd, they went against it. They didn't try to blend in. They stood out, often at the risk of being misunderstood, criticized, or doubted. But their willingness to be different is what made them memorable. They trusted their gut when others didn't see the vision. They created new paths instead of following old ones. That's where real innovation and impact come from, not from repetition, but from originality. Success isn't just about outcomes like money, fame, or status. It's about alignment. It's about living in a way that honors who you are and what you truly care about. When you pursue success by copying someone else, you may achieve certain milestones, but you're likely to feel unfulfilled. That's because you're not honoring your authentic self. Real fulfillment comes when your external accomplishments match your internal values and identity. That only happens when you stop chasing someone else's version of success and start defining your own. It also takes resilience. Choosing to walk your own path means facing criticism, doubts, and sometimes failure. But failure on your own terms is far more valuable than success built on someone else's foundation. Because with every setback, you grow stronger in your identity. You learn what works for you, what doesn't, and most importantly, who you are. That kind of self-knowledge can't be borrowed. It can't be copied. It has to be earned by showing up authentically and consistently for your own journey. So instead of trying to replicate someone else's life, trust in your own story, lean into your individuality, let your own values, interests, and instincts lead the way. Because the most powerful, lasting, and fulfilling kind of success is the one that is entirely your own. In a world that often celebrates filtered perfection and curated images, it can be tempting to hide behind a version of yourself that feels more acceptable or polished. But the truth is, being unapologetically real is far more powerful than being perfectly put together. Authenticity carries a kind of strength that perfection never can. When you're real, people feel it. They connect to it, trust it, and respect it. Being genuine isn't about having all the answers or looking flawless. It's about showing up exactly as you are with your truths, your emotions, your doubts, and your strengths, and owning them without shame. Perfection is an illusion that keeps people stuck. It creates a standard that's impossible to meet and exhausting to chase. It convinces you that you need to hide your flaws, avoid vulnerability, and constantly perform. But the more you strive to be perfect, the more disconnected you become from yourself. You start living for appearances rather than purpose. You edit your personality to fit expectations, afraid of being judged or misunderstood. And in doing so, you lose the chance to be seen for who you truly are, the real, raw, beautiful version of you that doesn't need validation to be worthy. Being real means allowing yourself to be human. It means admitting when you're unsure, speaking up when something matters to you, and showing emotion even when it feels risky. It's not always easy. Vulnerability can feel terrifying, especially in a culture that often rewards performance over honesty. But the people who make the biggest impact in life, in art, in relationships, are the ones who dare to be themselves, fully and unapologetically. They don't hide their truth to fit in, they own it, even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable. Living authentically also builds resilience. When you stop pretending to be something you're not, you start building a life that actually supports who you are. Your relationships become deeper because they're based on real connection, not roles. Your work becomes more meaningful because it reflects your true values and interests. And most importantly, you stop wasting energy trying to prove your worth to people who may never see it. Instead, you give that energy back to yourself to grow, to heal, and to shine in your own way. Being unapologetically real also creates freedom. When you no longer need to edit yourself, you begin to live with confidence and peace. You realize that you don't need to be everyone's cup of tea, you just need to be your own. Not everyone will understand or accept the real you, and that's okay. The people who matter will appreciate you for exactly who you are. And those are the relationships, the opportunities, and the moments that will feel the most rewarding. So let go of the pressure to be perfect. Let go of the fear of judgment, and start embracing the real, unfiltered, unedited version of you. Because that's the person the world needs. That's the person who will truly thrive. Every person on this planet has a role that only they can play, a combination of personality, experiences, talents, and perspectives that is completely one of a kind. Trying to imitate someone else or live according to someone else's path only leads you away from that uniqueness. You weren't meant to be a copy of someone else. You were meant to be you fully and completely. And no one, absolutely no one, can play your part better than you can. That is your power. There's a common tendency to look outward when searching for direction. People often think, if I could just be more like them, or if I follow their steps, maybe I'll be successful too. While it's natural to be inspired by others, the danger comes when you start abandoning your own voice in the process. The moment you start trying to mold yourself into someone else's image, you dilute your own strength. What makes you valuable isn't how well you can imitate others, but how deeply you can connect with your true self, the version of you that no one else can replicate. Life is not a casting call where you audition for someone else's role. You are already the lead in your own story. You have something to offer that nobody else can. Maybe it's your creativity, your resilience, your perspective shaped by your struggles, your ideas, or your passion. Whatever it is, it's yours and it has meaning. When you embrace that, when you truly own who you are without apology or comparison, you begin to shine in a way that's undeniable. Trying to fit into someone else's role is not only exhausting, it's limiting. It means you're operating under someone else's rules, in someone else's space, chasing someone else's dream. But the truth is, the world needs your originality. It needs your flavor, your energy, your impact. The people who leave lasting marks the artists, leaders, thinkers, and change. Makers are the ones who chose to honor their own voice, even when it didn't follow the crowd. This also means letting go of the fear that you're not enough. It means trusting that your journey, no matter how unconventional or imperfect it looks, has value. You may not be the loudest in the room, the most polished, or the most popular, but you are authentic. And authenticity resonates louder and longer than any performance ever will. When you fully step into your own role, life begins to align. The right people are drawn to you, the right doors open. You find purpose not because you chased someone else's path, but because you followed your own. You don't have to earn the right to be yourself, you already are enough. Your voice, your presence, your contribution matter. So don't waste time trying to rewrite your script to sound like someone else's. Learn to trust that you are cast in this life to be no one but yourself, and no one, absolutely no one, can play that part the way you can. Thank you.